guess it's time to start a YouTube channel. Hello geeks, this is Brian Kui from medicalcodinggeek.com, and I want to welcome you to our very first video. First off, I do want to say that I'm very excited to start a YouTube channel, mainly because for the past 3 years I've been doing podcasting, and so transitioning to a video environment is very exciting for me. Before I begin talking about this channel, I'm sure you're asking, who is this guy and is he the medical coding geek? To best answer those questions, I'm going to briefly share with you who I am and where I came from and how did I get to where I am today. In 2003, I graduated with a bachelor's in health information management from Florida International University. During that time, I worked as a radiology file clerk. After graduation, I got hired as a health information management technician. In 2004, I obtained my registered health information administrator credential from the American Health Information Management Association. In 2005, I was hired as a medical records director for a jail system. In that same year, I was hired as a part-time adjunct instructor for a private university. In 2006, I was hired as a clinical documentation improvement specialist. In 2007, I moved on and was hired as a part-time adjunct instructor for another private university. In 2010, I went on to be an online part-time adjunct instructor for a private online university. In 2015, I offered private medical coding tutoring. In that same year, I started Medical Coding Geek. I created Medical Coding Geek, a social media brand that promotes the art, science, and culture of medical coding, and also promote professionals within the medical coding, HIM, and CDI community. In June 17th of that year, I created Medical Coding Geeks and the RHIT and RHIA exam support group. September of that year, I became a CDI subject matter expert for a private company. On October 23rd, I was credentialed as a clinical documentation improvement practitioner by the American Health Information Management Association. In 2016, I spoke at my first state conference at the Florida Health Information Management Association. In 2017, I started the Not Elsewhere Classified podcast, where I connect with professionals, share stories, and create discussions in the medical coding, HIM, and CDI community. In 2018, I was hired as a clinical validation auditor. Also in 2018, I started to speak at local AAPC chapters. In 2019, I spoke at my first national conference at the Association of Clinical Documentation Integrity Specialists. In 2020, I created another Facebook group called the CDI Network. And that comes today into creating this YouTube channel. So let's talk about this channel. What can you expect? First off, this is my personal and professional journey to transition from working with podcasting and audio and finally transitioning to being in front of a camera and sharing my thoughts and insights. The Facebook groups that I mentioned before, I am going to take some of the topics from those groups and break them down and share them with you guys. Also, I want to talk about things that I am curious about. I can share my insights on clinical documentation integrity, health information management, inpatient coding, clinical topics on how it relates to coding. But I also am very curious about outpatient coding. I want to attempt to break down topics that both students and professionals have a hard time understanding. I also want to share my personal opinion about the medical coding, HIM, CDI, and even the healthcare industry. Ultimately, I want to create infotainment. We need to move on from looking at PowerPoint slides, and we also need to start talking about topics that have yet to be discussed, and also talk about popular topics probably from a different angle as well. I hope you're excited for what's to come for this channel, because I definitely am. And I also want to thank my friends and colleagues for inspiring me and encouraging me to finally create this YouTube channel. And lastly, I want to thank you for taking the time for watching this video, and I'll see you next time. In 2010, I went on to be an online part-time online In 2015, I started to In 2015, I created medical code. I created medical coding geek as a social. So hard. So I hope you're excited for this channel. I hope you're excited about this channel. To finally just get up and just do it finally already. Why am I looking up here?